as you can hear, a pretty nasty bug from my granddaughter who was sick off school, sick in the last days. So I'm on day 3 of a really nasty chest cold and sore throat and headache. And it's been great seeing you. Good night. I see through. I did actually seriously think about calling in sick this morning, saying, I don't think I can make it. But real men always make it, don't they? Yeah, big guys versus the little guys. What does that mean? Well, the big guys, we all know about them, the big cats of the world. They're pretty scary. One of them bit the head off Roy, which serves Roy bloody well right for taking advantage of cats in Las Vegas and turning them into showbiz attributes. That's just a personal view, you understand. But the big guys versus the little guys, you know, if you're a sand cat up against a, you know, some African lion, you're not going to make it. If you're a little tigrina up against a jaguar in the rainforests of South America, it's going to get messy. Big cats versus little cats. The big cats get all the attention. And why is that? Why don't we have the fascination collectively for small wildcats of the world? Maybe it's because they're just a little bit too like the little guy curled up at the end of your bed, the little soft cuddly guy that is your domestic cat, Felis catus. Once, of course, Felis catus was Felis libicus, from which all domestic cats have probably descended. Felis libicus is a nondescript little wildcat nobody pays too much attention to, but it's the beginning of the whole relationship that we enjoy since the end of the last ice age, when cats found themselves back in the United Kingdom. Not that it was particularly united then or now, but Britain, as it was, suddenly found itself with cats, and some of them became domesticated. Some of them, of course, like the Scottish wildcat, never did. Scottish wildcat is known in certain circles as Felis sylvestris grampia, but it's really just a close cousin of all the European Felis sylvestris wildcats, which extend actually into Asia and other parts of the world. So they're the nondescript little guys that we probably just get a little bored. They're too like the cats that we have in our homes. But there's something rather magic and exciting about small wildcats. There's, as we heard, 31 species of small wildcats, some of which I've had a little bit to do with over the years in the world of conservation. But I like to think that all of us have this relationship with animals, big and small, which is, in a way, it's kind of a spiritual thing. And I was saying to one of the directors that when I do concerts for charity in cathedrals and great churches of Britain, it's a bit like visiting a city zoo like Edinburgh. It's a sanctuary, a place you come to get in touch with something that you perhaps don't find in your usual walk of life. We take it for granted. I mean, I grew up just along the road in Murrayfield here as a child in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh Zoo was on the doorstep. I came a few times, I expected my parents, and looked at the penguins and a few other things. But we took it for granted. It was just part of the landscape where I lived. These days I feel differently about it whenever I'm travelling around the world. I visit some zoos, some of them great, some of them definitely not so great. But the zoos of today are not the Victorian nightmares that they were in years gone by. They've all become much more enlightened. Many of the zoos have very active conservation programs in which they participate. And I think they need our support. We mustn't just take them for granted as part of the city landscape. Our zoos are like our great churches and our big cathedrals. We walk past them every day with our heads down. We don't really notice them, and if we're not really practicing Christians, we hardly ever walk through the doors. But I think we should try and remember that huge spiritual relationship that we have with nature as a whole is something that we can participate in by patronising our zoos and those people who work so hard in fields of conservation. One of the animals you heard about earlier was the Andean mountain cat, which I don't know why I came across that, but I came across the gentleman you possibly heard of. His name is Dr. Jim Sanderson, PhD, just in case you need a credential. And he is wacko. He is scary. Jim Sanderson is a real eccentric, a little wiry, skinny American who has this huge passion for wildcats. He also has a passion for pissing off other people in the conservation world because he's a very fiery, outspoken guy. But in fact, in person, up close and personal, Jim Sanderson, he is a pussycat. He's a real nice, gentle guy, but he does sometimes rub people up the wrong way, as he knows all too well. But he's very active in different parts of the world. He's always out there packing his, not really packing his bag, because Jim Sanderson packs almost nothing at all apart from a laptop computer and maybe a pair of underpants. He said to me that, you know, whenever I go out on some field work in some far off part of the world, there's no point in packing a case with loads of clothes and changes of clothes. Where am I going to get my laundry done? In the middle of Mongolia or in the middle of the Andean parts of Chile. So his attitude is, you know, I just go away with absolutely nothing. Toothbrush and pair of underpants, that's it. When I get there, I buy a t-shirt or a pair of sandals from somebody local who's making this, who's so grateful that I give him a couple of US dollars, and that way it's cheaper than doing the laundry, and I get